Phase 6 is on the horizon, and you need to shift your mindset in a big way. See, we're about to step into a legendary battle where you either seize glory in the loot, or you face humiliation and watch all your precious epics slip away. No longer is a DPS tier list going to be about maximizing raw damage. This ultimate tier list for Phase 6 also factors in the crucial element of survivability. So let's strategize, let's rank the very best DPS classes in Phase 6 to prepare for an epic showdown. So I wanted to get started in the B tier, and these are classes I think are kind of going to fall off going into Phase 6. First in the B tier, we have the Ellie Shaman. And I do think this Shaman boogeyman, especially for Alliance, it really looms large, and it also kind of clouds everyone's judgment. The reality for Ellie Shaman in PvP is they kind of hit like a wet noodle with their lava burst. It's probably because everybody's running Molten Core fire resistance gear. Anyways, I think PvE Ellie Shaman, their ceiling isn't that high, and they're extremely gear reliant. I mean, you've got to get your natural alignment crystal, your tier 2, your weapons, your rings. Even then, you're only doing middle of the pack DPS. Still though, in AQ40, you're going to be extremely desirable for things like your mana regen from Shamanistic Rage. I'm sorry to the Alliance boys, I know you're going to get mad at me, but I don't think Ellie Shamans are anything higher than B tier in Phase 6. Also in the B tier, Shadow Priest, and I did a few DPS raids on my Hunter this week, trying to scope out everybody's thoughts on what the best DPS classes were. A lot of people kept saying Shadow Priest. It's a weird class where some people's raids the Shadow Priests are topping the meters, but you look at the data and Shadow Priests just aren't doing that well. Still, if AQ40 is all about surviving to maximize your loot, can't really think of a better option than a Shadow Priest. So also in the B tier, another Shaman, this time Enhanced Shaman. Yes, in PvP they are laughably unkillable. It is hilarious that some of the Shamans I know, the best gear Shamans, they're abusing Way of the Earth. They're abusing the fact that you get extra HP in Battlegrounds. That's not the point though, we're talking PvE here. And in PvE, sure, an Enhanced Shaman can say tank a 10-man AQ no problem. They'll probably be able to tank 20-man AQs. But on average, their DPS is lower than pretty much any other DPS spec. And DPS does matter quite a bit at the end of the day. When it comes to rating, Enhanced Shamans are just in a worse position than any Alliance players want to admit. That's just the reality. You can argue about it in the comments with me if you want, but that's just how I feel. So still in the B tier, Ret Paladins, and just a quick apology for a second. In one of the earlier videos I made, I said Shadow Priests were dominating dueling tournaments. The reality was, it was actually the Ret Paladins, the Shakadins. Frankly, I think Ret Paladins are the very most overpowered PvP class in the entire game. The fact that they can one-shot my priest while completely immune in bubble is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. But this is a tier list for AQ40 for Phase 6. And while Ret Paladins, they're not topping the meters, they're very middle of the pack. They're one of the most survivable classes you could possibly bring. I think that is really going to vault them up the usefulness rankings, and you're going to see quite a few more Ret Paladins in Phase 6. So moving into the A tier, we have classes that are going to play a really big role, if not the main starring role in Phase 6. So mages. Mages are fine, I guess. It's just that they've kind of fallen into the middle of the pack DPS-wise, and they still have all these really frustrating issues. For example, the fact that trash still dies too quickly, the fact that Living Bomb usually doesn't get off, and you're not doing nearly as much AoE damage as you should. Personally though, I'm kind of at a loss with mages going into Phase 6. I don't know if they'll be at the top of the meters or sort of middle of the pack. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. So talking Hunter, I have been playing my Hunter in BWL. It has been a lot of fun to play DPS again. And I immediately walked into a raid, soft reserved Azurus Thule, the very best crossbow. I walked out with it. I have the best crossbow. I have the best looking character. I can do anything. I can boost. I can make so much money with DMT buffs. So I would say I'm probably having more fun than most people playing the game right now. But the point is, going into Phase 6, you're going to be even more reliable. Sure, you're going to do middle of the pack to above average damage, but you're also going to have things like Trank Shot, which is super good on Huhuran. You're going to be able to bring Aspect of the Lion for everybody. I think that guilds that want to maximize their loot from the new Descent into Madness system, they're definitely going to be bringing Hunters. So also in the A tier, Pharaohs, and everybody loves a good Pharaoh Druid. A lot of raids I know, they're even bringing 2 or even 3 Pharaoh Druids. If Phase 6 ends up being kind of physical, melee heavy, I think Pharaohs are only going to be more valuable with their raid spots. That's not even mentioning the fact that Pharaohs have the insane utility for survivability. If you want to get maximum loot from the Descent into Madness mechanic, you're gonna want to have things like Battle Res and Innervate. We've also got to talk Warlocks, and Warlocks are owning right now. If you talk to Warlocks about why that is, though, they'll say it was only a matter of time, really. See, Warlocks are crazy gear dependent. They had to get their full tier 2. They had to get their Black Book. They had to get their weapons. They had to get their ZG pieces. It's just the fact that Warlocks are more gear dependent than a lot of the other classes. Felguards are owning. They're doing up to 30% of the Warlock damage. It's essentially like a better Beastmaster Hunter right now. So moving into the S tier, we have the very best classes, the classes everybody will want to play in Phase 6. Talking Warrior, look, I promise you guys, you're gonna have more fun per minute playing Warrior in Phase 6 than any other class. Whether it's PvP with a pocket healer, you're the strongest class in the game. Whether it's PvE, you get to scale better than everybody else with world buffs, with gear. Every piece of gear you get is going to feel more impactful in Phase 6. You might not be able to relive the pure 2019 fantasy of doubling everyone else's DPS, but you can still be top 2, top 3 on every fight. The only concern I have is that Warriors are not as survivable as some classes. They don't bring as much utility, and with the new Descent into Madness system, you might be considered slightly a liability. One class that is never going to be considered a liability, though, is the Balanced Druid. I think, and if you disagree in the comments, let me know, that Balanced Druid has had the biggest comeback in SoD. We all remember Phase 1. I was doing 10-man Boomkin VFDs. It was so fun. Star Surge was amazing. But then Phase 2 hit and the nerfs came and everybody stopped playing Balanced Druid. Well, let me tell you, Balanced Druids are so amazing now. They're one of the very best PvP classes. They're incredibly good in PvE, reliable. They bring unbelievable utility, the Battle Res, the Innervate. Everybody wants more Balanced Druids right now. The only question is, will they get some kind of nerf in Phase 6? Then we've got to talk about Rogues. Rogues already carry World PvP. They carry Arathi Basin, they carry Warsong, and they're going to be carrying AQ40 as well. Not only do they have the chart-topping damage, they're reliable. They can keep their world buffs longer than anybody else. They will stay alive longer in the Descent into Madness mechanic to maximize your loot. Honestly, I think this might be the perfect time to sit down with all your extra Halloween candy that's left over, and you go and level that rogue to 60. Alright, look, I know I've been wearing the Halloween jacket the whole time, and Halloween was like 2 weeks ago by this point, but I just don't want to let it go just yet. Can I get just a little bit more peace and quiet before Mariah Carey defrosts? Plus, this year I really committed. I dressed up as Moo Dang. I wanted to impress everybody. If you guys think my costume was awesome, please let me know in the comments, and let me know your favorite Halloween costume you saw this year. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe or I will send Mariah Carey after you, and that is a threat. Next, check out my Phase 6 Is It Gonna Be a Flop video next.